What's up, everybody? Welcome back to FNG Academy. I just had a quick announcement. I'm proud to say that we've been helping people get selected for 3 years now. I've been getting a lot of messages about people thanking us and saying that they just graduated from selection and they got selected. People graduating the Q course. One of my buddies just sent me a video from the Charlie committee. He asked, if you guys have ever heard of the FNG Academy, raise your hands. And all their hands went up, and it just filled me with pride. So part of the way that we do that is making sure that you guys are physically fit and ready for selection. And the way we've been doing that for the past couple of years is by sending you to a Green Beret we know and trust, Kevin over at 18 Alpha Fitness. So if you want to get selected, you need to be in the best shape possible, and you need a programmer who knows what they're talking about. So go check out Kevin over at 18 Alpha Fitness. Use code word BUCK to get a discount. Tell him we sent you and hook you up. Congrats to everyone who's been getting selected lately, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought Kurt was driving this bus today. That was the agreement.
Hit it.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode.
Was that your Sean impression?
It was. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns.
I don't sound like that.
All right.
Yo, what a piece of shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode.
What's up,
of Beers and Breakdowns.
All right, you be me, I'll be you. Ready?
Okay.
On 1, 2, 3. What's up,
What's up,
everybody?
everybody?
Welcome
Welcome
to
to Beers and Breakdowns.
That's you, bruh.
This has gone real well.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode. Shut up! What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns. Shut up! What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns. In this episode, we're breaking down a pretty awesome show called SEAL Team.
Dude,
I love this show.
I've been waiting for this one. This one has been one of my favorite shows for a long time.
Listen, I lost faith in what you thought was a good show as soon as you recommended, what's it called? Terminal List.
Dude, I've been trying to get you to watch this show since before Terminal List. This show came out, I want to say, in 2017.
Yeah, you've been trying to get me to watch the show for a long time. The viewers have been trying to get me to watch the show for a long time, and I've been adamant against it because I just typically don't like it. And anytime you hear a show, to me personally, called SEAL Team, I just picture corny.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And then I watched it.
Yep. And so this show actually came out at the same time as two other shows. One of them was called Valor, and the other one, I cannot remember, but it was about some like shadow unit or whatever. But it was 3 like tier 1 shows that came out the same exact time.
Is it called The Unit?
No, Unit was old. But the crazy thing is those other shows only lasted 1 season. I don't think Valor even made it a season. But this one,
it's so good.
And this one's still going on. I've seen all of these up until they took it off of CBS, and I haven't seen them since they put it on Paramount. So I've seen like all the way through season 4 or 5. But it's so freaking good.
Dude, the acting is ridiculous. The action is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just from minute 1 to the end of the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, okay, this show is amazing. Something that almost never happens is I learned something from the show. So like special operations, and we'll get to that scene in a minute, but I actually was like, I never thought about that. If I were to go back into special operations, I would use what I learned from a TV show in training.
Yeah. So this show also has a lot of like high level, what are they called?
Advisors,
sorry. Yeah, it's got a lot of advisors, like tier 1 guys,
that
SF guys, SEAL guys.
Because I'm telling you, I saw something in this that I was like, I never thought of that. That's a really good idea.
It's pretty accurate. I like
it's
it.
very practical.
We lost the bag! Hey, leave it! I got it! Oh, Jason, I got it! Don't you do it, shit! I got it! Get it!
All right, so a couple of things here I thought were pretty cool and interesting was, one, they're in a gunfight in an air-filled boat.
Yeah.
Like, that shit.
That's what I was thinking.
Like, bruh, you take one round to that boat and you have no more boat. your boat's going away.
There's hundreds of rounds and not one of them
Not
hit
one
that
of them
rubber
penetrated
boat.
that rubber air-filled boat. And two, I know that you probably have to do this, and I wonder if there's anything built into it, but like jumping from that height into water in full kit, that would suck, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're like, kit's heavy, you got your equipment, you got your magazines, your ammo, same thing. Your ammo, your magazines, your rifle, all, you know,
Wearing a helmet.
a helmet, a vest on, your nods, and you're jumping into the water. Like I feel like I would just sink like a rock.
Right.
So you have to be one phenomenal swimmer because you're essentially carrying a small human already on you in kit.
Well, they are SEALs.
And they are SEALs, so they're superhuman, according to most movies that you watch. But just such an awesome show. So far, great way to start the scene.
Yeah.
One thing I really like that's very real is not everyone has quad nods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's how special operations works, is there's a pecking order. You don't just get unlimited funding to get whatever you want. You only have authorized so much equipment. And sometimes, just like on an ODA, you have 5 PVS-14s, and then the rest of the unit will get, what is it? What are the old ones?
PVS-31s.
So the 31s, then the 14s. So it's like not everyone has the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that they had some guys with quad nods, some guys with, dual tubes. Because it's like not everyone's going to have quad nods. Maybe not everyone wants quad nods.
Yeah.
Some people may think the quad nods are too heavy, so they don't run them. So they have those decisions to make. So I just like that not everyone is wearing the exact same gear.
Yeah. I remember on my team, I want to say it was my team sergeant and maybe Bravo 1 had the
White hot
PVS-31s,
31s?
the white hots, yeah. And nobody else did. We all had the regular green,
Yeah.
you know?
And you're lucky to have 31s in the green because the 31s are still super light. But a lot of guys had the PVS-14s, which is the dual, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while, but it's the dual nods that are heavy as shit. The 31s are super light.
I thought maybe I'm wrong. Which one was just the single tube?
So the single tube is the, are they the 14s?
I think those were the 14s.
Either way,
I
so
don't know.
we'll go a step
Been a
down
bit.
as you have the 31s white hot, you got the 31s that are green, then you have the dual tube, I think they're the 14s, but then you have the dual tube heavies, and then you have the single tube.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the single tube, you had the mono, you had the single eye, and then you had the older ones before that, which is dual eye single tube. So that way it's two,
yeah,
but then it goes
into
to one in the middle. So that's kind of the escalation of it. And then at the top is the quad tubes,
Dude,
which all that's doing is adding another layer of tubes for peripheral vision is the idea.
right, because that's what I was just about to say. That would suck. Imagine walking through a cramped space like a boat under nods, zero depth perception or anything. You're tripping over everything left and right. So yeah, you add that extra tube, and I guess you get a little bit more peripheral and
But
maybe depth perception.
There's some downside to that is you're adding 2 extra tubes. So you
Weight,
could potentially doubling the weight of PVS like 31s, which I would rather, if I was to choose, most likely I would go into combat. If I had everything at my disposal that I'm aware of, I would still choose 31s. They get the job done. They're white hot, looks really good, and they're super lightweight. So when you pop them up, it's like they don't exist.
Yeah, because that sucks. And people don't realize once you have those things on the front, it's all that weight pulling down. So then to counterbalance that, you put a counterweight on the back. But that's just more weight. So either way,
your
you're
helmet
always
gets heavier
fighting.
and heavier and heavier.
Yep, and that chin strap starts to hurt because it's ripping on your head, and they're getting snagged when you're walking through bushes and stuff. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so truly you think, oh, I want the quads because that's the latest greatest, but it's like, maybe you don't.
There's always a downside.
There's always a downside, and I would probably choose the 31 white hots.
Your mama. Get on the ground.
Whatever.
Get on the ground.
Stop
Get on the
worrying about
ground
me. Don't
now.
worry about me. You should
Now.
worry about your hostage, because you dead.
Appears we have a problem, Mr. Spencer.
Big problem, Big Chief.
For you and me both. Matter of fact, mine might be the bigger problem. See, you get taken in the prime
Are
of
you,
your life
boss?
while you still have your head.
Your mama.
Huh? Yeah. Yondu ain't around, dude.
Who's Yondu?
Mary Poppins, bruh. Guardians of the Galaxy?
enjoying Avengers movies.
I've never seen that.
You're a douchebag.
Anyways, carry on.
All right, so whether you're watching Yondu or you're talking about The Walking Dead, this man's a beast.
Okay.
You never seen The Walking Dead either?
No. We're talking about the guy at the top or the guy,
The guy at the
your
top,
mama?
dude.
Oh,
Yondu
okay.
is the guy at the top. He's Mary Poppins.
Oh, okay.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. No?
Oh, now I get it.
You're an idiot. So this is a cool thing I really like about the show is in training, we have to reset our shoot houses. So the walls slide so you can move and you can make hallways turn into rooms and all that stuff. But it takes a lot of time. So you have to go through and you can only move so much before it's like, I already know. Because I know that wall can be moved, that wall can't. So you can start to game it. I never thought to put a bag over someone's head and then pull it up and then have individual scenarios. So that was the learning experience for me, figuring out a way to train to change up the environment drastically for the person involved without having to change up the environment drastically, without needing some super expensive, complex training environment. You could have one room and a bag that lowers over their head, and now you change it up in a, almost uncountable amount of scenarios.
Yeah, it's like infinite number of scenarios, like quick reference or quick identification scenarios like he did.
Right.
So they did one thing, put the bag over his head, popped
Did
it
it
up,
again.
and now there's a hostage situation going on.
Within minutes.
Yeah, and like, who are you going to go with? They're like, who are you going to shoot?
So your time with getting reps in is a lot faster, so you get more reps in for the training.
That's pretty smart.
I thought that was super genius. Another issue is I really hate the way this guy talks back. Like
Oh, Spencer?
Spencer, the way he talks back, I get it. He like builds in through the episode, but if you did that as someone that wasn't in yet, in real life, in reality, you wouldn't last.
You're going to have a tougher time for sure.
You
yeah.
would get the smoked out of you.
Yeah.
Talking back like that. And is he technically right that he can't beat that scenario? No, I don't think he is right, because as a soldier, that's a tough scenario. As a police officer, that's a very common scenario. Somebody's like, I can't shoot you, but I'm going to continue to push my boundaries and I'm not going to listen to you. That's a very common scenario as a police officer. So what can he do? He doesn't just keep screaming. Once you have your gun in someone's face and you tell them to stop and they don't stop, they've escalated that situation beyond where you're currently at, right? They're not listening to you. You've already escalated it high enough to pointing a gun in their face. You're not going to shoot an unarmed civilian or unarmed combatant. So what's the next thing? Stop pointing your gun at them and stop telling them what to do. That's not working. You transition to hands-on. Mm-hmm. So a police officer would be more reactive in the sense that they would stop saying, stop, 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 stop. We already know that's not working. So it would be stop, 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 hands on. Now I have my hands on you. Now you're a barrier between me and the shooter. And now I could transition to slamming you on the ground and getting my secondary out and engaging the target. So there is a way to beat this scenario. And he's so cocky that he doesn't say it and he tries to talk his way out of it saying it's not winnable anyway.
Yeah.
No, it is. You stop using only your primary weapon system, you stop trying to talk your way out of it, and you go hands-on with that guy. And as you're going hands-on, you now have a barrier between you and the person that's trying to point a gun at you. And now you transition to your secondary, and you have options at least. Is it perfect? No, it's still a bad situation.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better than saying, this game isn't winnable, so therefore I'm not playing, which is what he essentially did. Would you talk back to the team sergeant like that?
No, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, you're not going to win regardless, right? And what I mean is by his reaction to the scenario, you're not going to win by saying that.
Right.
I mean, that's one of those where it's almost like, is it just better to be like, all right,
Yes,
Roger,
sir.
move on?
Exactly. 99% of the people would, and most people, think about it, we're seniors up on the catwalk watching a junior essentially going to fail. So why are we watching him if we know the scenario is set up to fail? We want to see his reaction to impending failure that he can't win. What does he do when he's at a loss? Does he argue? Because that's going to piss me off. Or does he say, yes, sir, my apologies, I'm going to work on it? Because as a senior, I know he couldn't win that. But now I see that he's willing to take it on the chin.
Yeah. Instead of being a hothead.
Instead of being a hothead little head about it and talking a bunch of smack.
Yep.
But is that real world, and does that happen a lot on teams, especially tier 1, I'm sure, when you start getting egos get higher and higher? Absolutely. So as far as the show, super realistic.
Yeah.
That's going to happen, but as on the real world, that guy would piss me off.
For sure.
We would
and
have
he did
real
piss
problems.
people off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of realistic, right?
Yeah. So
some people were on his side, some people were pissed off about
exactly, and that's super realistic.
Yeah,
so this
for sure.
show right away is firing on all cylinders on realism for me.
Yep.
I loved it. Abel, are you for real falling asleep right now?
Hey.
Prisoner out. Okay? We're going in the same way we're going out. That's what choppers.
Rotor's gonna make an awful racket coming up that valley. Give everybody in the house time to get set to repel borders.
It's not Samir's house.
It's not Samir's house.
So?
So why is he gonna dig in when he hears the rotors?
He's not gonna dig in when he hears the ropes, okay? Spook's already said he's not into martyrdom. So we're gonna come straight up the valley, we're gonna buzz the compound, we're gonna drop right down on him, and then what? Samir's gonna squirt. Instead of landing on the X, Blackhawk's gonna come out for the VI. Boom, bam.
Davis.
I love the mission planning.
Yeah.
It's not big, and it's you don't know who. If you walked in and didn't know who the characters were, you didn't know who the boss was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how mission planning should be.
Yep.
It's not, hey, I'm the boss, you listen to what I say. It's what makes sense. Hey, man, what if he does this? All right, well, if he does this, and then we'll do that. All right, well, if we do that, then this happens. And you go back and forth until you have the best possible plan there is.
And it's like everybody there can give their input because everybody has different experiences.
Yep.
Everybody knows a little bit about something else, right? So they can come up with a better plan that way instead of having one person who's like, this is the plan because this is what I want to do.
Right.
And that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, and then someone else will be like, well, that's stupid as like, well, you're not in charge, so you got to shut and just do what I say.
Yep.
No. The higher up the echelon go, the more even the playing field gets.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like in an infantry unit, the sergeant tells you what to do, the private does what he's told. SF, team sergeant, seniors, then we all communicate. I can't imagine that I can only imagine that it only gets more level as you go higher.
Right, yeah.
It's like we're pretty level as SF. I imagine that in tier 1, it's like, okay, we're all top tier. Everyone has a say. We need to evaluate this and figure it out. And then all heads combined, make a better plan than one person.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the more people you have thinking about the best possible solution and brainstorming and what do we call it? So all your contingency planning,
Yeah.
you're just going to contingency. And if we can't answer that, then we got a problem.
Exactly, yeah.
But if we can answer it, that's not a contingency anymore. That's a plan. So if it goes south and we had a plan for it going south, that becomes the new plan. It's not like, oh man, what do? We already planned for this.
Yep.
Graduate Green Team, you're a member of Chalk 2, Alpha Platoon, SEAL Team 3.
Damn right.
Yes, and as impressive as that is, if you were working on an operation and you were not a Tier 1 operator, you're a strap. So, how about you sit back down, buckle up back here with the rest of us support personnel, and don't make me kick your ass up and down this aircraft.
Can I at least get an Ambien? I'm gonna sleep sitting upright for the next 19 hours.
So what I thought was funny, well, two things on that. First off, a strap, which in military is like a strap hanger, right? So it's somebody that is like obviously not part of the actual unit, is just attached, so he's like hanging on. So this guy thought he got a little big for his britches. He's in Green Team, which means he's training or trying out to be a Tier 1 operator, but he's not yet. But he's on the mission, so he thought he was, so he wanted that respect that everybody else got.
And he didn't try to buy it in front of the guys. He tried to buy it when no one else was there.
Right, yeah.
In front of the strap hangers, thinking he was like, oh, I'm going to big these guys.
Yep.
And she said, And she knew exactly what was going on. She put him in his place, and I was completely aroused by that entire...
All right, so the other thing that I thought was cool and really realistic is he asked for the Ambien, right?
Yeah.
You guys just always get Ambien when you flew places?
Yeah, we got a lot of Ambien.
That was like, anytime we flew anywhere, we had Ambien. Like our medic was just passing out Ambien.
The best part is taking the Ambien and then fighting it.
Yep.
Shit gets weird,
I think
bro.
we've talked about it. If you can fight, I always call it like getting through the breakers. If you can take an Ambien, get through the breakers while you're drinking, it's glorious on the other side.
We stopped in Ireland, and they're like, 1 beer. each. And I was like, we're going to Ireland. I don't know how much, but I'm pretty sure some of that's in my blood. I'm not drinking one beer. We got off the plane. By the time I got back on the plane, I'm pretty sure I had like 8 Guinnesses and took 2 Ambiens.
Oh, God.
And I fought it, bro.
That's a fun plane ride.
Yeah, got weird.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
I woke up in a completely different seat than where I started. And I was like, how does that even happen on a plane? Like, I was like 5 rows away from where I started this flight.
I remember for us, we were in Thailand, and I don't know if I told this on another Beer and Breakdown, but we went to Thailand, and we stayed overnight, and the next day, it was just a stop-off. The next day, we were supposed to take off and go back to the U.S., or go to South Korea and then U.S. But when we landed, or when we went to take off the next day, as we're going down the runway, getting ready to take off, it was me and a few other guys, but Dylan was one of them, and we all get our Ambien, and we take it. Or no, Dylan gets his Ambien, and he's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. He takes his Ambien. As soon as he takes his Ambien, you feel the plane going like this, and all of a sudden just slams down and slams on the brakes.
Oh, shit.
Like, it was frightening. Like, I thought we were about to slide off the end of the runway because it was going so fast and we're about to take off. And just slams on the brakes. The plane starts doing like this number right here. And so like, we're all hanging on, everything's shaking, and then it finally stops. And when they stop the airplane and they come back, they're like, hey, we had a bird strike before they took off. It's like, we had a bird strike, so that's why we shut it down. And so Dylan's just like, I just popped my Ambien. And they're like,
30 minutes, you got to get this back up.
I know, right? And so the pilot was like, yeah, we're not going to be able to get it out tonight.
Deplane.
Yeah, we had to get off. He's like, this is the only plane. We're not going to be able to get it out tonight. So we're going to have to, figure it out. And so we ended up being stranded in Thailand for 9 days after that. But Dylan had just took his Ambien, and we're all going out that night. And so he's just like, screw it. So he's with, you could see him like start to like doze off, but we're all just drinking through it. Or we're all drinking, he's drinking through it. And I'm sure he had an incredible night. Probably doesn't remember any of it that night.
Yeah, it just gets weird because you kind of like come in and out and you're like, I can't even say what's happening. I can't say this is what you're feeling because I just remember kind of like, I remember getting back on the plane from Ireland. I remember the Ambiens, and I remember being 5 rows away from where I started going, yeah, that was weird.
And we're not condoning drug use. This is all prescribed, by the way.
Yeah. But that's the thing. In special operations, like, it's not that they condone doing drugs. It's that everyone's a man, and you have to take responsibility for what you do. So if you say, if my teammate decides to take a bunch of Ambien and have some beers,
right?
Good luck, Captain Kirk. You're sailing that ship, bro. But I trust that you're gonna make smart enough decisions that's not going to get us all in trouble.
Well, and so the real reason behind it is you're trying to combat the effects of jet lag. You're getting on the plane, you've got a 20-hour flight or whatever it is. You want to get some sleep, so you wake up refreshed and ready to go, and you don't wake up on a different cycle, or you don't get there on a different cycle, and you're like passing out. So there's a legitimate reason behind it.
We just add the alcohol, and that's what really sends it.
That's when the wheels fall off.
They're using the fires to cover Samir's arrival.
I say we do a little sneaky peek.
A ground recon? You want to go out into the city on foot?
Yeah, I'll take Scooby Van. Davis?
Seriously, guys, I know Monrovia is supposed to have gotten better the last couple of years, but it's still kind of Mad Max out there.
Wow, now that was to me. How about you? Mad Max is wall-to-wall white folks. Definitely to ask the black guy to rule if something's racist. Just FYI. Okay, mocha latte.
Guys, you're punking us, right? You're not actually considering going out there.
I never heard that before.
All right, pause it.
I never paid attention to that before.
Yo, I love that scene because, like, I'm that white guy. That's always confirming with you.
Okay, mocha latte. That's the typical, like, how a team communicates, though.
That's awesome. Our relationship, bro. That's our friendship. Like,
that was
like, hey, is that like, bro? You can't ask me. Just a great scene, great camaraderie. I like how the attachment tried to kind of bow up on the team sergeant, and the guy's like, he's talking about the guys on the compound, and he got defensive for his team sergeant. Yep. That was like one time we're on the bus. I'm sure I've told this story, but we're on the bus, and one of our EOD attachments, not Travis. We love Travis. Travis is one of us. So one of our EOD attachments, Travis's, would have been junior, but we ended up kicking him off. Bowed up on my Delta, and I was like, already sipping whiskey. And I was like, I got up, and And I went back to the bus and got in his face and was like, if you ever talk to one of my teammates again like that, I'm going to beat your. And Tony pulled me off and was like, it's all right, Buck, it's all right, it's all right. It's just, we're chill. And then he was no longer with us.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, you kind of have to know the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And if you're not on a team, you need to be very careful about
how you approach
a team member. Yeah, for sure.
If you're on the team, you know the hierarchy. We're going to ebb and flow with that. We're going to bend with you. If you overstep, you'll get corrected. If I overstep, I'll get corrected, and I'll take it on the chin, and we'll move on. But if you're off the team, you're going to get more respect than like a new guy would get. But then the minute you cross, that's just like being nice. But the minute you cross the line and think that you have more authority than the new guy,
yeah,
and now we have to put you in your place, and now really hits the fan.
I think the issue is a lot of times you're together and work so close with a lot of the attachments, the enablers, that they start to adopt that mentality and they get a little too comfortable. And I've seen it happen numerous times where somebody will just say something slick and get put in their place like that immediately. Yeah. And it's normally, a lot of times it's like one of the senior guys on the team or an overzealous new guy that's going to correct them.
I thought that was really dope, like dressing up like women.
Mm-hmm.
It was really smart, understanding that in that culture, women, like, men tend to not look at women. They tend to get their eyes down and just leave them alone. It's like they're, I hate to say like subclass to them, but either way, it's offensive to make eye contact with the women. So the smartest thing to do is to dress like a woman if you want to stay undetected.
Mm-hmm.
So at night, dress like a woman, your best opportunity to get in. And the way women dress, you can cover up kit, just like they cover up S-vests sometimes. You can cover up kit, your rifle, everything with, their outfits.
Yeah, you can cover up the white man. So like in that scene, they had the one guy that could possibly blend in, wasn't covered up.
Right.
He just had on the regular clothes. And then they had the white guys that would stand out like a sore thumb right there, covered all the way so all you could see was their eyes.
Yeah, so it's just a super smart decision to do an infill platform that way. And it's really cool because, like we were talking about in, what's the movie we just reviewed?
Covenant?
We were talking about Covenant. Covenant, they were kind of pushing the boundaries of what SF does. But with these guys, they're tier 1, so this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do exactly what they're doing in Covenant, but they do it authorized and like a normal mission.
Yeah.
So they probably had all the assets stacked, and it's just a normal mission for them.
Yeah.
We got movement. White Kufi, take a look.
Talk, this is Bravo 1.
Confirming you're seeing what we're seeing here?
Roger that, Bravo 1. We're seeing it. Positive ID on Abu Samir al-Masri.
Congratulations, Doc. He is exactly where you told us he was going to be.
Tell you what, we're gonna pack up and we're gonna...
Exfil, how copy?
Strong.
All right, I'm pretty sure that's just a regular loophole optic. How are they having direct visuals through the optic on the target, which then goes to an iPad, which then goes also to the comm
Oh,
center?
you mean on the spotting scope?
Yeah. It's not even a spotting scope, it's just a scope.
No, they also had a spotting scope, which had the feed on it, I think.
So the spotting scope had the feed?
The spotting scope had the feed.
That's bananas, dude.
I don't, that's some tier 1 shit, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like, some things in this show, like, I don't doubt them. I just think they're above our pay grade.
Yeah. We definitely didn't have that.
We never had, I had a spotting scope, and we had sniper scopes, and we had sniper systems, but never had a spotting scope that had feed into an iPad that had direct...
Right, a live feed.
Live feed into, Overwatch. That's crazy.
The only thing I can remember is the capability to send pictures that would take a while to send,
Yeah.
and then they can get them and receive them, but not a live feed like
It's
that.
crazy. Like every time you think that you've met like a certain level of echelon, there's always more money to spend. And the more money you spend, the cooler you get and the better equipment that you get and the more capabilities that you get. So to be able to like live feed through your spotter scope is bananas.
Yeah, but I mean, it's cool. It's one of those things like everything else, it'll eventually filter its way down. Like it'll become cheaper, more readily accessible, and get down to soft unit or regular SF units, and then down to infantry and all that.
Yeah, it really does trickle down. When it's the newest, latest, and greatest, it gets fielded at the highest units, and then once it becomes kind of more normal and we get them, and then all of a sudden like, then the newest thing comes out, it gets kicked down.
Yeah.
The newest thing comes out, gets kicked down, and then so we're always one step behind the next tier above us. So I remember always CQB stuff too. It was like, it was always that one guy's like, oh, I got a buddy in CAG, and he said they're doing this now, C grip now, or this grip now, or this grip now, or reverse C grip now, and it's like, okay, and it's like there's always some new hotness that's coming out, but that's just like anybody. We want to stay up to date on the latest cool thing, and trendsetters are coming from tier 1 units.
Yep, for sure.
Clear. Clear.
That clearing scene was textbook.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. If you guys want to know what a good clear looks like, that was it. I mean, that was the closest thing I've probably seen a show or a movie do to a real world operation.
Yeah.
You're not rubbing the walls with your kit. You're not speaking unnecessarily. You're not saying a bunch of bullshit. You're moving slow, smooth, and methodical. Everyone knows what to do. Shoulder squeeze to release the number one man. Number one man's keeping his eyes on the target, so he's not looking around. There's nobody that's like calling the shots and acting like they're in charge. It's just flowy. And then as soon as you clear a full one, then you say clear, and then you move on to the next one.
Yeah, that was
Beautiful.
awesome. And the guy, the breacher, the guy with the shotgun, that's Tyler Gray. And he's a former Delta Force operator.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so he's actually the guy from that show, The Selection, if you remember that one. He's the one that's got real bad scarring on his arm.
Oh,
he was like
okay.
another trip to the fire or whatever.
Yeah.
That's him. So he's the former Delta Force guy. So, like I said, they got hitters that are on the show. They
know
got
what's
hitters
up.
that are advising the show. So
And
you could tell.
It's super obvious.
Yeah.
Like that room clear made it so obvious that these guys had a lot of knowledge on set. Everything was right. The gear was slightly off, which made it even more realistic. The movement speed, slow, methodical. We're not running, we're not being fast, we're not talking too much. Again, we're not rubbing walls. Even with the shotgun, the breacher shotgun, we don't leave around in the chamber. So you're always racking it, boom, racking it, boom. For every breach round, it's a rack, boom, rack, boom. And the whole idea behind that is so it's like there's always the same pace. You never are wondering if there's a round in a chamber, pull the trigger and it goes click. It's always rack, boom, rack, boom, rack, boom. And so it's just like everything was just dead nuts. It's just spot on. It's a great fucking clear. If I was on the ODA, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's how we do it.
I love this show, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And guess what? Everyone's suppressed.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you be? You have a short barrel with a suppressor. Because why the wouldn't you be? It just makes sense. You're doing room clears, you want the shortest rifle possible, and you want to be as quiet as possible. So that way, if you got your ears up, I could shoot right next to your head, and you're not gonna get your ears fucking blown out of your head. And it just makes the most sense. They didn't. Wonder why they didn't have a dog, but whatever.
They normally do. So I think it's just mission didn't dictate it.
Yeah, mission dictated. To throw a dog in there if you want. Don't. Doesn't matter. Either way, you know that this show is damn spot on.
Yeah.
It's so damn good. you guys are ever wondering why operators keep their knives on the center of their chest, that's it right there.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah. So you're clearing the room. All of a sudden, somebody comes up and out of nowhere and grabs you. Your primary weapon system is out. Your secondary weapon system is out because you're using both your hands. So you're here now. You can't go down here, grab your pistol, and try to get it out to shoot. Like your pistol's out too. Once you're in a fight this close, the only thing you have is a knife. So we keep our knives at the center, so that way either hand, whether I get shot here, somebody stabs me here, I lose, for whatever reason, I lose one of my hands, I can still grab my hand, or I can still grab my knife. I prefer a thumb loop. I don't know about you. He didn't have a thumb loop. I'm not mad at you if you don't. Like, I don't think it's that big a deal. It's a shooter's preference. But I prefer a thumb loop because I know that when stress gets really high, this tends to go away. Mm-hmm. It could be really cold, which makes your ability to make a good grip go away. So I want to be able to just hook my thumb in, pull, and have my knife.
Yeah. Yeah, you lose that dexterity sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
So trying to manipulate something, not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Whether it's stress, whether it's temperature, there's a lot of reasons you could use dexterity in your hands. So if you have a thumb loop and it's center of your chest, think about the fights now here. Now I have a thumb loop here and I have a thumb loop here. I could pull that out and then we're going after it. And this was a perfect example of when to use a knife, your tertiary weapon system, and why you use the placement that we do.
Yeah. I just think it was a cool scene.
And it's badass.
It just came out of nowhere and he just quickly, like without fumbling around, just quickly, he's just like,
yeah.
And that was it.
Was I mad at him for leaving his post? Yeah. I think we're all supposed to be mad at him because he's that guy that's a new guy and he continues to push the boundaries and not listen and to do his own thing. And he's kind of John Wayne in it. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating as someone from a command perspective that he's not listening. But at the same time, like we talked about before, the results dictate the actions.
Yep, true.
And his results were on point, so therefore that gave him kind of the freedom to do that. And it almost got him kicked off the team.
Yeah, close.
So he really took a gamble on it, but luckily guys had his back, and you really have to kind of weigh, do we take someone that's doesn't like to listen to orders and follow orders, or do we take someone that's a free thinker and is willing to push the limits in order to do what he thinks is right? And you only know that there's only one right answer, and that is it's dependent on the person.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things depend on the person, depend on the team, because you got to have a balance. You can't have everybody on your team that's completely going rogue all the time. You can't have everybody that's like following the rules to the T all the time. Like, you got to have a balance.
And it's funny because one of my old teammates is now CAG, and one of the things that we got was that there's kind of there's like in CAG, there's like by the book teams that they build on purpose that are people that are super about the rules, and that they kind of build pirate teams. So then there's teams that are all about doing whatever it takes and like not asking questions. So based on the information that I've heard, that they tend to try and build teams based on what those individuals are comfortable with. So that way they could then use that tool depending on where it's the most functional, and which makes perfect sense to me.
For sure.
It's like, hey,
that's crazy.
This is an off-the-wall thing, and we're going to need free thinkers that aren't afraid to bend the rules. We use our pirate team. We need someone that's super by the book because everything is dead nuts tight, and there's no room for error. Then you get your kind of ranger team, you know, guys that come from ranger bat, super by the book, do as you're told mentality. SF is more that do what it takes, and then the Rangers are more by the book.
Yeah.
Both of those have equal amount of value depending on where they're being utilized.
Yep. You gotta figure out when to use your tool, and which tool to use.
Yep.
Hey, right there. Raise your hands. Raise your hands.
Again, another bad scene. You got a guy with an S vest, suicide vest. He's got demo strapped to his body. He's got an initiator in his hand. My comments on this were, obviously you think that the new guy's right for putting down the guy and getting a good, clean headshot to where he has no more ability to function a weapon or a initiator. My issue is we don't know, and I get it, you can kind of look at it and see that there's a button on top, but that's not guaranteed. We don't know if it's release activated.
A dead man switch.
A dead man switch, and that's my issue.
That was my concern too when I watched it. And yeah, I think they did that on purpose, like very obviously putting a black button on top. Because yeah, that was my thing when they came in that room. It's like, if this guy's got a dead man switch,
we're fucked.
There's nothing you can do. Like, get the fuck out of there immediately, right? And then by sitting there telling him to like raise his hands, I don't see many other ways for that scene to go or that scenario to go. If that guy is dead set on not getting captured, he's going to blow that thing up. And so I think that, Spencer came in, assessed the situation the best he could, and seemed like he took appropriate action. He
made a decision, and that's you got to respect that. Whether it was the right decision, in this case it was, because it was a pressure switch.
Yeah.
It was he had to push the button, and but then again, you could also see that his thumb's not on it, and depending on how skilled you are in a tier 1 element, those fractions of a second are probably in our favor, depending on, or their favor, depending on how good of shots they are and the fact that they're already lined up on him, ready to take him out. So the team starts kind of assessing. He really wants to bring this guy in alive because that would be the huge score, but he makes a decision. You can't blame anybody for making a decision. Me personally just looked at that and go, oh, thank God it wasn't a dead man switch.
Yeah.
Because that is what I would, if I was a bomb maker and I was in a suicide vest, I would want a dead man switch.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's one of those where as soon as he put that vest on, to me, I think you have to shoot him at that point.
Yeah, put him down.
Because, I mean, what's the other alternative? He's like, raise your hands. He's like, okay, I'm going to lift my hands.
Boom.
And as you come in to apprehend him, he's just like, click, I don't know. That's a shame.
Yeah, as soon as I see S-Vest, putting him down. I'm shooting him in the face. The fact that the teams are kind of like pulled it back and tried to talk him out of it, I think you're already in too deep.
Yeah.
And it was almost better that the new guy showed up, fresh mind, to not just get drawn into this lull. Because I guarantee everyone will get drawn into this lull, hoping that this guy's like, okay, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
I changed my mind. But now you guys are at this like standstill.
Yeah.
That's where he comes in and is like, oh shit, this is bad. Boom, boom.
Vest, they don't have a shot. I got a shot.
Taking it.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. So that's this episode of SEAL Team. Man, it was amazing.
Yeah.
From the first minute to the last minute, beautifully shot. Acting is great. The dialogue is spot on. None of it is cringy. Not for 1 second did I feel the slightest bit of cringe.
Yeah.
The dialogue is beautiful. The action is beautiful. The what is it when the advisors clearly not only knew what they were talking about, but the people making the show listened to them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Everything was spot on.
And
I can't find an issue with it.
Yeah, and this is only the first episode.
It's only episode 1.
This season is so good, so well done, and the way the story expands after this, I'm excited to rewatch it.
I love
it, man. It's awesome.
I'm only 1 episode in, and I absolutely 100% love this show. I think it's so good. I couldn't find a hole in it. I couldn't find a hole in it. I felt, for this is the first time watching it from like the Green Beret perspective, I was like, it's beyond me. Like, you need to have a CAG guy in here to review it in order, or a tier 1 guy, so SEAL Team 6 or CAG, to watch it. Maybe then they could find some issues,
right, yeah.
But I can't.
Yeah.
It beat me.
Good job.
Good job. Well freaking played. That's an amazing show. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode, and we'll see you on episode 2. And just so you guys know, we're doing all the shows from beginning to end. So that's Band of Brothers, SEAL Team, Pacific, Terminal List. As much as I hate it, we're going to keep going. All these shows we're going to finish. So before you freak out and say, oh, you're not doing this show, we're going to finish them all. So we'll see you on the next one.